inspections went forward, and then to go to war, in effect, to depose him before the inspections had been finished. And I think it's clear that the government didn't care whether he had the weapons or not. They wanted to get rid of him regardless. There was also clearly no plan for what to do after Saddam was deposed. It was easy to depose him, and as we see, difficult to build a new country. So I would not have done it. Now, having said that, I want to be perfectly candid. He did a lot of terrible things, and 58% of the Iraqis voted in the first election. That's a higher turnout than the United States had in the last presidential election. And they were risking their lives to do it. So we took we have heavy responsibilities to the people of Iraq now, because we did induce this chain of events which have unfolded. But I do not favor, even though I would not have launched the invasion when I did, when it was launched, under the circumstances under which it was launched, I think it would be a bad mistake to have a unilateral withdrawal now and leave all those people at the mercy of the forces which are now operating in Iraq. We owe them the right to build a self-governing country now, and we need to try to stick it out and help them do that. But I think it was an error to do what we did when we did under the circumstances in which we did it. But we got to try to make it work now. That's what I really think.
We have another question which follows on from that. Anfal Mubarak Baraya.
Mr. President, do you believe the United States can still act as an agent of peace in the Middle East, considering the currents of animosity the Middle East has for the United States?
Concerning the level of animosity against the United States, is that the question?
Yes.
Yes.
It depends on, first of all, it depends on whether the Iraq enterprise succeeds. If they are a self-governing representative country, and if we then get out like we said we would, and not make ourselves permanent occupiers, but really we do what we say we would. We facilitate their ability to defend themselves, and then we leave. A lot of people that I guess that agree with what we did, because Saddam was a bad man. Saddam killed a lot of innocent people, but a lot of them he killed in the 1980s with the full support of the American government, because he was opposed to Iran. So the facts were different here. But yes, I think we can regain our role as a peacemaker if we do the right things in the right way. Because there's still this moment in world history. It won't last forever, but there's still a moment when we have an enormous amount of political and economic and military capacity. And if people see us using that for peace, then it'll be a positive thing. If we still have the means to have an influence, and we do it in a way that people think is genuine and not designed to hoard oil or power or money or anything else for ourselves, even no matter how much people disagree with what we did in Iraq, I think we can recover that. And I think that if the Iraqi enterprise succeeds, the fact that they wanted to be free of Saddam will help us recover from that. If it doesn't, and if it becomes a terrorist-infected area, as much of the Sunni section of Iraq is today, it will be more difficult.
Let's take a question from Fadan Al-Fadan, please. Get a microphone.
Mr. President, how would you suggest the youth of the Middle East address important social problems?
I think the first thing I think you should do is more things like this. I think there should be a decided effort of young people in the Middle East to talk to one another in a respectful and honest and open way across various lines of division. I think that's important. I would be trying to build a different, more diverse, more open Middle East, and in a way that reduced poverty and inequality and integrated this region with the rest of the world more. That's what I would do. And I would disavow any political strategy that included blowing up innocent people. And I would just, I think you have to be in a position to condemn the unacceptable. I mean, this is what Zarqawi did in Jordan the other night was unbelievable. He made a deliberate attempt to murder only Muslims just to show King Abdullah that he was still after him and wanted to overthrow the Hashemite kingdom. So he murdered all these people at a wedding, all Muslims. As far as I know, it is the only act of terror in the recent history that was directed entirely against Muslims without any allegations of complicity or something. You know, there have been some people killed in Iraq for cooperating with the United States, a large number, but I cannot remember anything like this where people just showed up at a wedding and got blown to smithereens just so that guy could tell the king, I'm still coming to get you. I think you should speak out against that. But I think you should have a positive vision of the future. And I think you ought to try to establish dialogue across all these lines of divisions. I think you ought to invite a bunch of students from an Israeli university to come here and ask them what they think they're getting out of holding on to the West Bank. And talk to them about it. You never go wrong talking to people. I think there ought to be a debate with the Iranians about whether they really want to undertake the cost and the risks of having nuclear weapons, and whether that will really help make any Iranian child more secure or make the country wealthier. I think you should have definition. You should talk about what is the meaning of a great country in the 21st century. How would every nation or region define its greatness?
But you're asking them to be pretty brave, aren't you, to stand up in some of these societies and speak out openly against the prevailing views?
Well, no. I mean, he may agree with the prevailing view, but at least he ought to throw himself into it. I think that what I'm asking you to do, here's what I think. I think that if I were in this region and I were looking at the future, I'd say, what are the threats to this future? What are the threats to my future, to my ability to establish a normal life, have a good family, bring children into the world, die a happy old man 60 years from now, 70 years from now? I thought about such things when I was your age. I did. I remember telling my wife once when I was 25, she said, what do you want out of life? I said, I want us to be in our late 70s, sitting on a park bench somewhere, watching young couples walk by, and I want us to feel no resentment that they are young and we are old and they have all their time left. I thought about that when I was your age. You should think about such things. It doesn't take long to live a life. It doesn't take long. So what I'm saying is, here's what I think your problems are. If you allow this region to be dominated by people who think they can take other people's lives who are non-combatants because they are in possession of the truth and they can turn it into a political program and anyone who rejects it deserves to die, then you are going to have a very unhappy life. The other big issue you have is, what are you going to do with this? One more time, you're being given a chance to make maximum use of oil wealth. The price of oil has gone way high, and therefore there'll be a premium coming into this region, probably somewhere on the order of $1 trillion or more in the next, several years. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to just spend it and have a good time, or are you going to create more university settings like this and more students and educate more men and women? And once you get all these educated people, what are you going to do with them? How will you build an economy that you would like to be a part of no matter what happens to the price or supply of oil? And how will you build an economy that will work for you if the climate of the globe keeps warming up and we have drastic changes in the economy and agricultural production patterns of the world and things like that? These are things you should be thinking about. When you get, this is a great gift for you, this high oil price, but only if you use it right. Many people, for many people, great gifts are a curse because They use it in the easiest, most self